In 1932, the son of America's hero aviator Charles Lindbergh was kidnapped from his crib. Ransom paid, but the baby was found dead, and the truth may never be known. Charles Lindbergh was more than a pilot. He was a national hero after his solo transatlantic flight, and his family lived under a public gaze they never asked for. On the night of March 1st, 20-month-old Charles Jr. slept in the second-floor nursery at the family home in Hopewell, New Jersey. At dawn, a discovery. The window left ajar, a homemade wooden ladder propped against the house, and a small crib empty where a child had slept hours before. Within hours, a ransom note was discovered on the nursery sill, a demand that would plunge the family and the nation into a frantic search. That morning marked the start of what newspapers called the crime of the century. The world watched as strangers became witnesses, and witnesses became suspects. A ransom demand for $50,000 arrived in a handwritten note, and a painstaking exchange followed, arranged through intermediaries and desperate hope. Money collected, instructions followed. The Lindberghs paid what was demanded, believing the boy could be retrieved and returned to them safely. Despite the payment, tragedy followed. On May 12th, the child's body was discovered, badly decomposed, not far from the Lindbergh home. Grief turned to outrage. The nation mourned a child and demanded answers. Police and volunteers combed the countryside for any clue leading to the kidnappers. Investigators seized a critical piece of physical evidence, a homemade ladder believed to have been used to reach the nursery window. Pieces of the kidnappers' world, the ladder, fragments of handwriting, and bills later traced by serial numbers, would become central to a long and contentious investigation. Investigators followed leads across states. Forensic methods were rudimentary by modern standards, but tireless legwork finally pointed toward a suspect in New York. Bruno Richard Hauptmann, an immigrant with a modest life, was arrested after some of the ransom bills turned up in his possession. Prosecutors argued the latter would match planks from Hauptmann's attic. Handwriting resembled his script, and ransom bills traced back to him through complex leads. The case built on circumstantial proof and persuasive narrative. Detectives, journalists, and the public assembled a story that led to a courtroom spectacle. Yet from the start, there were problems. Inconsistent witness accounts, imperfect forensic comparisons, and questions about how evidence was handled and interpreted. These gaps would later fuel suspicion that the official narrative might not tell the whole story, or that justice had been rushed under intense public pressure. The trial became one of the first modern celebrity trials. Newspapers sold millions of copies, radio carried breathless updates, and the nation watched every courtroom turn. The prosecution painted a portrait of guilt through a sequence of linked facts and persuasive testimony. The defense struggled against mounting public opinion. In 1935, Bruno Hauptmann was convicted largely on circumstantial evidence, the latter wood, handwriting comparisons, and possession of some ransom bills. Appeals and pleas followed. The case divided legal minds and the public, with arguments about the reliability of evidence and the fairness of the process. In 1936, Hauptmann was executed. For many, the case seemed closed. For others, a profound unease remained, the kinds of questions that refuse easy answers. History recorded a verdict, but history also preserves doubt. Evidence that convinces one generation leaves another asking for more proof. Over decades, scholars and amateurs alike returned to the case, reassessing testimony, re-examining evidence, and proposing alternative theories. Theories multiplied: a lone kidnapper acting opportunistically, an organized gang profit-driven plot, or even darker possibilities including a family cover-up. Scientific tools that could have answered lingering questions were not available then. No DNA testing, no modern trace analysis, and forensic limits left room for doubt. Some argue Hauptmann was wrongly convicted. Others insist circumstantial links were strong enough. Still others question whether all players were ever identified. Whatever the truth, the Lindbergh case reshaped American policing, media, and public appetite for sensational trials. It remains a touchstone in true crime and legal history. The Lindbergh baby kidnapping remains America's most infamous unsolved crime. 94 years later, was justice served? What do you believe happened? Comment your theory below and subscribe to Unsolved Shadows HQ for more tragic enigmas from US, UK, Australia, and Canada. Blackheart, turn on notifications.